Hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Max, and welcome to these first takes from the community session. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'll be your host for today. And I am joined by Senior Solutions Consultant and my colleague, Jason Grant. Welcome, Jason.
No, thanks very much for having me.
Awesome.
So, it's like we haven't chatted all day.
I know, right? It's like normal. So can you just describe what we do to the audience, essentially?
Absolutely. So we're quite fortunate in some ways in that we get to actually go into a lot of companies and work with a lot of design teams and creative teams, and try to have a look at some of their workflows and how they actually try to execute and push out all their content. From that, then we overlay that with what we know around the wider Creative Cloud, and then we try to offer them solutions and efficiencies and save them time, and also make sure they're aware of the latest updates, which again, today was a big day.
Big day, a lot of updates. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you some questions that we've kind of formulated from some of those announcements today. I'm also going to encourage everyone who has joined to shoot your questions in, ask Jason some questions, and we can definitely answer those. First of all, there was a lot of announcements today, right? Photoshop on the web, neural filters, things like colors, replacement of backgrounds. Then there was the Illustrator on the web, and even a lot of iPad apps, so a lot of mobile creativity. Where do you want to start?
That is a strong question to start with. There is so much to talk about. I sort of like to start with, say, Photoshop and some of the applications themselves, because as you touched on, it does go down into, not only on iPads and then web, but, we can get to that a bit later. But the actual products themselves, some of the little updates that have come through, but I think huge time savings. So if we start on Photoshop, what I sort of saw with the Photoshop update, so if we talk around, say, the object select functionality where you can easily select objects. So we've had select subject and remove background for a while. Object select came out last year. Now how you can quickly make mask, and you can right click and it can actually select all the mask of a variety of different objects in the Photoshop file and push them out in layers, right? So each one has one. When you're doing retouch, you're selecting and masking all the time, because then you go into that little area of the image and then you do the changes and adjustments. So that in one way is a huge time saving. So I think that's a really great one.
Yeah, I think what I loved about that was the fact that you don't even have to click anything, you just hover and it can identify an object, and then you can go in and make that selection. But not only can you make that selection, you can make multiple selections just by using AI, the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge time saver. I don't know, but when I used to do it, I would try to fudge it and try to use magic wands and lassos and do it really poorly, and then end up going in and using a pen and all that. So this hopefully will save a lot of time. The second one that I really thought was beneficial was the neural filters. So again, when we select in objects, right, then we color grade. So, we're selecting, masking out certain things, then we're doing a lot of color grading. So there's 3 features in that have come through, like the harmonization, and then there's the background, the visual background options that you have available. But all of them play with colors, and that what they're trying to do is match. You can either, they have preset imagery in that, but you can add your custom imagery on top. So now when you have a brand guideline, and which has a certain look and feel, how do you do that? When you search through stock content, there's going to be a lot of stock content, but you sort of find out very quickly that, okay, that we need more, we need to adjust, we need to do certain things. There might be parts of an image that you like, but the color grading is not right. So this, with neural filters, I think makes it so much easier to color grade and make sure everything looks the same.
Yeah.
Also, go on.
No, I was just going to say, we saw pretty much the first iteration of neural filters. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last year's Max, and there's been some some beta, areas inside of that. And now we're seeing the next stage of that. So it'd be really interesting to see what comes from that. And we've got a question from Rosie. She says, "Hi, Jason, who's your biggest inspiration?"
That's a really good question. Today I did see, and I was so happy, David Carson. I don't know if you got to see his talk. He's an old designer, typographer, just, he says, he doesn't try to break the rules, but he has broken every single design rule that you could possibly know, and it looks awesome. So guys like that, make sure that we're not, robotic in how our design should be. So I really enjoy watching Dave Carson. I'll give him a little plug. So yes, go watch him.
Yeah. Awesome. So, in terms of Photoshop, what else was released? There was a lot of, talk about, I suppose, web-based as well as mobile-based. We seem to be going into this new web era for us, for Adobe, that is. How do you see, I suppose, companies adopting that style moving forward?
Yeah, well, we're not in that space where we have our colleagues sitting next to us. Here we are, we work together. If we were in the office, we'll be sitting next to each other and we'll be sharing ideas and getting feedback from that. Now we're doing it remotely. So now with that share for review, inviting people to edit, the ability to not only open that file that you're working on, no matter where you are in a iPad environment or, on the train or through your desktop, whatever it is, even if you don't have your computer with the software on it, then you can log in through web. So you have all these different options, which is really good, I think. And that's what, it just opens the door to, how you can actually quickly and execute on whatever you are, wherever you are. And because, it's not where we work, it's how we work.
That's I love that. That's exactly right. Lucy's asked a question that's similar to this. There was a lot of talk of Photoshop on the web. Is there an open beta?
Yes, it is a public beta. So yes, you should be able to get in and get access to that. I don't know if we can have access to put that on, but there is a public beta at the moment for Photoshop. So yes, please jump on and have a look as well, because like I said, it makes it so much easier once you get in. I don't know if, just a little throwback, but Lightroom's been the first application that we've had who had the mobile option, who had a desktop option, and also had a web. So now Photoshop, and I'll segue this into Illustrator as well, has that option as well. That one is private, so that will come out. Yes, you can apply for it, but it does take a bit of time to come through. But go on. No, you go. I was just going to jump straight in and say Illustrator, the 3D options that you can do with that, extrusion and rotation, and the 3D panel is really good. I've been playing with this already. It just, it lightens everything up. I don't know, it just gives that nice depth, and then it makes it so much more easier. Illustrator always had that 3D option, but now it's a lot more user-friendly.
It's a lot more robust as well, isn't it? And we're seeing, obviously, with we have our substance suite of products as well in the 3D room, which we'll talk about in a second. But that kind of shows where our apps are moving, in a sense. The 3D aspect and how to seamlessly move from one app to the next as well. Okay, we've got a couple of questions flying in. I love that you can now copy and paste Illustrator layers into Photoshop, the interoperability feature that we saw, and edit the vector in the Photoshop. What did you make of that?
Yeah, huge. Like if we look at some of the other applications as well, like After Effects and all that, the ability to expand out the layers and get into the details and granular, that's huge. Keeping that vector object so you can scale it. Is also great. I mean, that was great, and it was good that someone did bring it up, because yes, it was a good update. That one makes it so much easier, because we are always jumping in between Photoshop and Illustrator and that. So these things, they're going to get smaller, especially when we're on the web. It will get smaller, that little between the applications, and we're just going to be designing. just designing in the zen.
That's it. Design. It's exactly right. We say this all the time to our customers. It frees people up to be more creative. That's the most important thing when it comes to these applications and what you can do, the freedom you can have with them. Okay, here's another question in regards to Photoshop and Illustrator from Koki. Just curious about copying and pasting Illustrator layers onto Photoshop. Can we do that as smart objects?
Well, I believe it still so it sort of still keeps the linkage back to the Illustrator option, so you can still alter the vector object. So yeah, and like smart objects. So I'm not sure if other people know too, but you can convert a rasterized image into a smart object and then scale it and rescale it and all that, and it keeps its resolution. So things like keeping that vector as it is, then it allows you to scale and alter it within your layout as well. So yes.
Yeah, awesome. I love this question. This is from Susan. How many devices do you think you'll get to working on one project? What's going to be your record? I actually want to answer this before you do, Jace. So I wouldn't know how I wouldn't know if I've broken a record here, but sometimes I do some filming on an iPhone using Premiere Rush. And I use a gimbal behind me there, and then I convert that into a Premiere Rush project, and then I edit it on an iPad, and I finish off my edit on a laptop. So I'm going to go with 3. Can you beat that?
Oh, no. I think moving forward, I feel a lot of us now we have laptops themselves, so we've sort of gone away. Who knows, maybe more laptops, like if you look at Surfaces, where they're sort of almost laptop iPad, I feel we will go towards that sort of, that ability to, draw and so forth on hardware. So with a pen makes a huge difference, I think. And that's where your Photoshop illustrators and that frescoes on that, and that fresco update to motion,
massive.
It makes it so much easier to do, these wonderful graphics, and, and you would know the most how much motion into design, how much it makes and brings your attention into that design. So yeah, it's makes it so much easier. So back to your original question, yeah, I think it's going to be basically you're going to have a device, and then when you don't have a device, you can log in online and just continue doing it wherever. So and then you can get messages on your
That was pretty cool. So let's add the 4th then. Yeah, four devices. Yep. I suppose we can go down that route. Okay, so let's I suppose stay in the mobile area. iPad apps using the Apple Pencil. We saw a lot of that today. Especially with Fresco and the motion side of things. We were just talking to Frankie Seehee, who's a muralist, and she uses Photoshop as well as Fresco to design her artworks. And her murals, but also looking at doing animation moving forward. I've got a really interesting question here. Do you think people are going to adopt this approach? Creatives are going to adopt this approach in their everyday?
It's going to be driven by demand.
Yeah.
Of course. So if and sometimes, and I'm sure there's people out there who have done this as well in their day-to-day working, is that you've put forward an idea to the wider group, and it's been adopted because you took extra time to actually push this idea, say, hey, this would be beneficial if we did design like this, if we did creative like this, can you see how this could work? And so you spend that little extra time in the background making sure it looks nice, and then you present that, and then all of a sudden it's part of the project, it's adopted, you're doing that. So if the need for motion in design is growing because the devices can play it.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. We're becoming more and more digital, which means that we have to collaborate and share more. So that may be. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say it's prevalent now, right? Collaboration is so important, especially due to the situations that we're in, and we can't physically be with each other. Hopefully soon, but yeah, these things will adopt over time and see how we go. Spaces and Canvas. It's really interesting updates when it comes to web-based updates using some of the applications that are inbuilt inside of that. What did you make of that?
That's my favorite. It's one of my favorites. Who doesn't love a good space? But no, if I just so everyone's aware, Spaces is that sort of like a storage of your design assets. Can have design projects, can have inspirational assets, can have links like to GitHubs, whatever it may be. All of this can sit within that space. Then you can invite people in to collaborate on, and then on top of that goes back to the canvas, which is that inspirational board where you can throw your imagery and inspiration shots and whatever vector imagery, whatever sits within this cloud. So you've got your Photoshop on the cloud, Illustrator on the cloud. All these can sit, and then you can right click and edit them, and you can do all this. You can put text, copy, all that stuff. Really exciting because it is a proper creative space. So we can actually share ideas, and ideas always iterate. They always evolve. So that's where you have this space, and all the design assets, all the regular collateral that sits under that sits within a space. So yeah, I think it's very exciting. It's going to evolve as well. Like creative ideas, it will evolve. And I think they're looking to launch that early next year. So a bit of a sneak into that, which is really exciting. Team libraries also sits under that. So makes it easier for organizations to share them assets within a company. So yeah,
and what I love about that is the fact that it's not just creatives collaborating together. It's marketers. It's other teams inside of enterprise businesses. It's all of them can come together in a canvas and work together. You can comment, you can share, you can update things. I don't know if everyone saw the video, but that video was incredible. I'm going to have it on repeat later, watching it. We've got some other questions coming through. One from Kian. Hi, Chris and Jason. When can we expect Creative Cloud Canvas to be rolled out next year? I think you touched on this earlier, right?
Yeah, I believe early next year. I haven't got an exact date, Kian. Maybe we'll take that offline.
We'll take it offline, Kian. Okay, all good. One from Jacomi. Hi, Jacomi. You were in the last session. What is the easiest software to learn to start with video editing? If I want to take a video on my Fuji, I can answer this. I have a background in video. I would say Premiere Rush is a good starting point for you. It's kind of like introductory video editing. So it teaches you, the basics of video, creating in and out points and editing on a timeline, so to speak. You can add transitions and effects and things like that. Once you get to a point where you're comfortable with video editing, you can take it to that next level, which is Premiere Pro. So yeah, what do you think, Jace?
Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, again, you're the expert on that. So yeah, absolutely. I have to concur 100%.
Cool. Now, just before we get to a couple of other things, I want to touch on XD. We've got a question here from Bonnie. With the new landscape mixer, now this was in Photoshop. Yep. What do you think this means for family photo holiday cards in 2021? I love that.
Well, the sky's the limit, I suppose. That was really interesting. I love what it did. I loved how well it did things. It just changed everything. So, but I think what it does is once we start to use this thing and, we can start to get the best out of it in the real-time environment, then that's when it gets exciting, because we do all these minor adjustments to, like I said, when you have an image, it's not 100% there, how you can really adjust it. It's just, it's insane, really. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. We don't have much time to go, so I want to touch on XD. Now, XD is our user experience application, and we announced video.
Your favorite.
Yeah. How is this going to change the UX experience, not only from a, I suppose, end result, right? So from what you see visually, but even that production process, if you're a UX designer.
Yeah. There's two aspects to that update. So you've got Lottie files. So they're like,
and can you just sorry to cut you off. Can you just explain what Lottie files are?
Yeah. So they're like animated from like After Effects. There's plugins that you can use from that, but they're animated files that they came from Airbnb. Actually, they created this tech, but they're really low in size. So that is one of the really great things. They can be used in HTML and all that. So really strong, powerful little animations that you can use. It also has a linkage, and I believe XD will have, there's a plugin which has Lottie files. So you can actually get access to, there's a whole open source that's available for everyone to get in there and have a play with as well. So Lottie files, as well as video. So now within the UX space at the moment, and this is outside of Adobe as well, there isn't a tool that you could actually use to do a proper prototype with video in it. So now XD can provide that. Previously, people would maybe export their prototypes out to like After Effects and add video into it, and then, you know, show that and present that to the customer. But to actually have it in situ, you know, as we all know, because we do mock-ups and we present our ideas all the time, the better the mock-up, the better, more chance of it getting through to the next stage. So, you know, as opposed to trying to explain to them that here's a video or here's a little animation, here's this, you're going to have it in real situ, and you can share the link and people can, you know, click it and, you know, interact with it. And yeah, video, like, again, there's so much open, you know, possibility with video.
Yeah, it's really good to see us, you know, moving into that era as well. But not only with that, you know, you can see how the applications have evolved over time, which is really fantastic. You probably, those are watching, you can probably see Howard Pinsky's video that's playing right now, which he's our UX evangelist. You know, just when we were shown this, we were, both of us, Jason and I, and our team, were just blown away by it. You know, it really is going to, I suppose, revolutionize the UX experience moving forward.
Yeah. So, but think, right, and we're having more customers. It's not always just using XD for websites and so forth. They're using it for any screen. So like that example there, that's a game interface. So, you know, that could be, you know, Xbox or whatever, PlayStation. Yeah. It could be anything. It could be a screen in a car. You know, that's what, yeah. The alternatives are limitless.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to wrap up. I've just got a couple of things to ask you. First of all, nice shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're rocking the Mac shirt today. Also, a question from me, random one. I'm just going to throw it at you. I've been throwing random ones all the time. Actually, no, we've got one from Rizwan. Getting my new M1 Max laptop soon. Wow. Are all the new Adobe CC softwares optimized for the new chip, or are we going to play catch up?
The major ones, I believe, are. I'm not 100% sure if it's across the full suite, but, you know, all your major ones, your Photoshops and all that, yes. Video, yes. So yeah.
So
I believe they are.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for your time. Thanks everyone for joining us, and I hope you have a great Max.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks again.
Thank you.